Greetings, parents. Welcome to Back to School Night for 2020. My name, for those of you who don't know me, is Mr. Bates, and I will be your students' intrepid guide this year, either to the world of AP Physics, Aerospace Engineering, or Multivariable Calculus. So as I'm going to be working very closely with your students, and maybe with some of you over the course of this year, I thought it fitting for you to know a little bit about me. I myself am the product of MCPS. I graduated from Blair all the way back in 2001. I then attended MIT, where I got a bachelor's degree in physics. More recently, I have a master's in education from UMUC. After MIT, I spent about 3.5 years working at Boeing on autonomous helicopters, on specifically the A160 Hummingbird. I really enjoyed that, but I had always wanted to cook. I loved cooking. So I then spent a year and a half or so, 2.5 years, working in various restaurants in Los Angeles and in DC. I got to actually work at Minibar for about a year, which is Jose Andres' flagship restaurant downtown. And then cooking was great, but I actually occasionally wanted to spend time with my family. So I decided, well, what's something that's going to be similarly active, keep me on my feet, be a little bit more intellectual, and that brought me to teaching. I'm now in my 7th year here teaching at Wheaton, and honestly, I love it. There's no school in MCPS I'd rather be at. In addition to the 3 courses that I teach, I am also the coach of our Science Bowl team, which in 2018 were the regional champions. We defeated a field of 48 other teams from the DC and Maryland area, and went on to represent our region. We got an all expenses paid trip like 4 miles down Connecticut Avenue to the 4-H Center, which was awesome. So Science Bowl is really, really, really great. In my spare time, and I don't even really know what that means anymore, but in my spare time, I still love cooking. I love singing in a local choir, and I also love playing games. My now 6-year-old and I play a lot of Magic the Gathering, if any of you used to play that back in the day, or maybe still do. We play all the time. And so with that, we're going to get on to the meat of what makes each course unique. Before we get onto that, I do want to mention one thing though. For all of your courses, please make sure your student, and you, if that's applicable, are checking My MCPS. Although we do use other web pages, at times we will have other things. Everything will be linked on My MCPS. All of their task list, everything that they need to do for every week, all weekly assignments will be linkable and findable through My MCPS. So as for multivariable and vector calculus specifically, this class is kind of my baby. It's a class that I've composed and written, and it's one of my favorite classes to teach because unlike other kind of advanced classes, there's no AP exam. There's no like big final test at the end that we have to take, except the exams for this class. So we can move as quickly or as slowly through the material as we want to really make sure that the students understand it, which is kind of a privilege in a class like this, to be able to beat our heads against some really, really challenging material. Now, your students, I'm sure, can tell you a little bit more about the mechanics of the class. I do want to note we have pretty much every week weekly problem sets and quizzes, so basically 1 a week. So if they ever say that there's nothing to do in class, that probably isn't true. But the idea here is that this is supposed to be what they call in education a high expectations, high support environment. So I really, really, really encourage my students to ask as many questions as they need to ask. We can spend large amounts of time in class going over questions, trying to tease these things out, look at them from lots of different angles, because this is kind of mind-bending stuff. It's a step up in the kind of math that they've been asked to do for most of the rest of their math careers. And so really taking our time to pick these problems apart until we really understand them is my goal. And I can only really do that if they ask. So otherwise, I really just want to emphasize having them, and you, if applicable, checking My MCPS to make sure that they know what to do. We're going to do a bunch of different stuff in this class. We're going to cover the entirety of our multivariable, possibly a little bit of differential equations. We'll also be doing a little bit of R programming, which is a free statistical package. So So that should be fun. And just a lot of other things to prepare your students for college and beyond. So I can't wait.